What if I told you the janitor walking through the school halls wasn't who he seemed? What if he was actually the new principal, sent undercover to expose a secret no one dared to speak about? A secret hidden behind polished trophies and perfect grades, a secret about bullying, silence, and students being harassed just because of the color of their skin. And what happened when that janitor stood face to face with the bullies? They laughed in his face. But then, everything changed. The moment he revealed who he really was, the entire school stood still. What followed was a life-changing lesson that no one saw coming. A story of truth, transformation, and the power of one man's courage to make a difference. Before we begin, if you believe in powerful stories that shine a light on justice, second chances, and the strength of character, like this video to help it reach more hearts. Comment below if you've ever experienced or witnessed unfairness and how it shaped you. Subscribe for more inspiring, emotional, and eye-opening stories that truly matter. And share this video with someone who needs to be reminded, real change starts with one brave choice. Now, sit back, because this story, you won't forget it. When Jeffrey Carter got the call about the transfer, he didn't hesitate. Lincoln Heights High was a high-performing school, one of the best in the state. Shiny halls, students in uniforms, championship banners hanging from the gym ceiling. From the outside, it looked like a model of success. But Jeffrey had been in education long enough to know that a school's test scores didn't always tell the full story. He'd heard whispers, quiet voices saying the school wasn't as perfect as it looked. Students being harassed, bullies walking around like they owned the place. And worse, some kids claimed the targets were almost always the quiet ones, the different ones, and especially the black kids. It wasn't in the news. Nobody filed official complaints. But the rumors were loud enough for Jeffrey to take them seriously. So when he accepted the job as the new principal, he came with a plan, a bold one. He didn't step into that school in a fancy suit with shiny shoes. He walked in wearing janitor overalls, an old ball cap, and worn-out work boots. Instead of sitting in a corner office, he grabbed a mop bucket and started sweeping the gym floor. The staff didn't question him. They'd been told he was the new part-time janitor, just a regular guy. The students, they barely noticed him. Some looked right through him. A few laughed when they thought he wasn't listening. One even dropped a half-eaten sandwich right in front of him on purpose and just walked away. Jeffrey didn't react. He just smiled to himself. He wasn't there for recognition. He was there for truth. Day after day, he quietly worked the halls, listened to conversations, watched interactions, took mental notes of who hung out with who avoided eye contact, who looked over their shoulder before speaking. By the third day, he started seeing a pattern. 3 boys, always together. Loud, confident, athletic. Their names were Jamal, Kevin, and Ray. They walked like they owned the place, laughed too loud, cut corners in class. Teachers seemed nervous around them, as if they'd learned it was better to look the other way. But Jeffrey saw more than just teenage swagger. He saw fear in the eyes of the kids who passed them in the hall. He saw a boy drop his notebook when the group walked by, and the way his hands trembled as he picked it up. He saw the whispers, the glances, the silence. That's when Jeffrey knew the rumors were real. The moment came during the 4th afternoon. Jeffrey was cleaning near the back stairwell, where most security cameras didn't reach. A blind spot. He heard voices, sharp, cruel. "Yo, where you think you going, little man?" It was Jamal's voice, loud and mocking. Jeffrey peeked around the corner, staying silent. There they were. Jamal, Kevin, and Ray had a smaller kid backed into the wall, thin, with glasses, dark skin, and his hoodie pulled tight around his head. "Hey, don't walk away when we talk to you, bruh," Ray said, shoving him lightly in the chest. The kid Marcus looked down at his shoes. His backpack slid off his shoulder. He tried to speak, but Jamal snatched the bag from him. "You too good to talk now?" Jamal sneered. "Maybe we'll see what you got in here." Kevin laughed, pulling out a notebook. "What's this? Poetry? Man, you soft." They laughed. Marcus didn't. Jeffrey's heart pounded. He'd seen enough. He stepped forward, slow and calm. "All right, that's enough." The boys turned. Jamal raised an eyebrow. "Who the hell are you?" Kevin squinted. "Yo, it's the janitor." Ray laughed. "Man, go clean a toilet or something. This don't got nothing to do with you." Jeffrey didn't flinch. Instead, he reached into the front of his overalls and pulled out his school ID badge. Principal Jeffrey Carter. The boys froze, dead silence. "You just disrespected your new principal," he said quietly, and bullied a student in front of him. Jamal's cocky grin disappeared. Kevin swallowed hard. Ray muttered, "Wait, what?" "Follow me," Jeffrey said, his voice like steel. "Now." Inside his office, the air was thick with tension. The boys sat, shoulders slouched, not meeting his eyes. Jeffrey walked slowly to his chair, sat down, looked at them for a long moment. "I know exactly who you are," he said. "I've been watching since day one." Jamal tried to speak. "We didn't mean." Jeffrey held up his hand. "No excuses." He stood and walked to the window, then turned back. "You think being feared makes you strong?" he asked. "You think pushing down someone weaker proves something?" He paused. "I used to think the same way." The boys looked up. "Yeah, I grew up in a rough neighborhood. Didn't have much. Got picked on. So I learned to hit first. Be loud. Make people nervous." He took a deep breath. "Until the day I saw my little brother, just a kid, get bullied by someone just like me. That broke me." He sat back down. "I'm not going to suspend you. Not yet." The boys looked confused. "But I'm not letting this slide either." He leaned in. "For the next 2 weeks, you're mine after school. You'll clean floors, stack books in the library, tutor younger kids, talk to students who've been bullied, like Marcus. And maybe, just maybe, you'll learn something." It wasn't easy. The first few days, they grumbled, rolled their eyes, did the bare minimum. But Jeffrey didn't give up on them. He worked beside them, told stories, asked questions. Eventually, cracks started to show. Jamal confessed he'd been held back a year. He was scared of failing again. Kevin admitted his dad left when he was 9 and he still had dreams where he cried in his sleep. Ray opened up about being bullied at school for his stutter. Now he tried to flip the power. And then there was Marcus. At first he avoided them, couldn't look them in the eye. But one afternoon, Jamal asked about his poetry, and instead of teasing, he listened. Then he asked to read one. Marcus handed him a notebook, nervous. Jamal read a short poem called Invisible. It was about being overlooked, being quiet, being different. Jamal didn't laugh. He handed it back and said, "Yo, that was deep." That night, he stayed late and wrote a poem of his own. By the end of 2 weeks, the boys were different. They greeted students in the hall. They sat with new kids at lunch. They apologized to Marcus. No cameras, no audience, just them and him. And they meant it. At the next school assembly, Principal Carter stood on stage. The students cheered. He was already a favorite. But this time, he had a message. "Some of you may have seen me mopping floors last month," he said, smiling. "Some of you probably thought I was just the janitor." Laughter. "But I was watching, listening, and what I saw broke my heart, but it also gave me hope." He turned to the side. "Jamal, Kevin, Ray, come up here." The crowd murmured. The 3 boys walked up, nervous, unsure. Each of them stepped to the mic and shared their truth, their mistakes, their growth. Jamal read his poem. Marcus stood in the front row, nodding proudly. When the assembly ended, dozens of students walked up to shake hands, share stories, ask questions. A culture was shifting. And it all started with a janitor and a choice. That evening, as Principal Carter was locking up, Marcus appeared in the hallway. "Hey," he said softly, "I just wanted to say thanks." Jeffrey smiled. "For what?" "For seeing me, and for helping them see me too." Jeffrey nodded. "Sometimes people act like mirrors. They only show you what they see. But the right people, the real ones, they show you who you really are." Marcus grinned and walked off. Jeffrey stood alone in the hallway, the lights dimming behind him. Mission accomplished, and the story just beginning. Sometimes, it only takes one person to break the silence. One person willing to see what others ignore. One person who chooses to step in, not with anger, but with purpose. Principal Jeffrey Carter didn't just teach from a podium. He taught from the ground up, from a mop bucket to a microphone. And in the process, he didn't just change a few students. He changed a culture. Because true leadership isn't about titles or offices. It's about courage. It's about seeing people, not just grades, not just reputations, but their stories, their pain, their potential. So ask yourself, what kind of person do you want to be in someone else's story? If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Leave a comment. Let us know what part hit you the hardest. Like this video so YouTube knows this story matters. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded. You can be the change too. And subscribe for more true, powerful stories every week right here on Storytime with Rose. Until next time, stay inspired, stay bold, and never stop believing in redemption.